Hey, what's going on, Virgos? Butch Tarot here. I am going to do your 2-week read. It is a general read, so it may not resonate with everyone. It is for your Sun, Moon, Rising, and your Venus. For all you cross watchers, roles can be reversed. Always feel free to comment down below. I had a lot of people ask me what I burn, because sometimes you see smoke. Usually I burn it beforehand. Sometimes I burn it and it continues to burn during the read. I do Palo Santo. It's to keep away negative energies. And I usually burn some incense that I get homemade incense from a lady that I know. She makes her own. I just find it therapeutic. I like the smell. And, you know, I feel like I try to get in the best vibe that I can when I do readings. For all you that were interested and wanted to know, I had lots of questions about it, so I just figured I'd give it a little bit of play. We are using the Mystic Dreamer. And with that being said, let's get to it and let's get it. Here's what we have for Virgo. There. What we have for Virgo. What's going on for Virgo universe? All right, Virgo. So the first thing I see, Virgo, is we're going to go back a little bit here. I feel like this is a past person. This is someone that you had a really strong connection with. You know, and I feel like there was a huge conflict. You know, I feel like there was a strong connection, but there was also that conflict that we had, some past conflict with this person. I feel like you've seen something in this person that they weren't ready to see themselves. And I feel like this person went cold on you in the past. I feel like, you know, they couldn't take it. And it's not because you were wrong. It's because they weren't ready to see it. I feel like the energy around that person, they weren't in a good place in the past. You know, I just feel like they weren't ready to see it. You know what I mean? I feel like they just weren't in a place where, and there's multiple reasons why this person went cold on you. One, because I feel like they didn't really feel like they could measure up to what it was that they thought you expected from them, or that what you've seen in them. They didn't think they can measure up to that, and they were afraid that they would fail you and fail themselves as well. But I feel like the failure to you would have been the biggest blow to this person. And the other reason I see is I feel like this person, like I said, they were in a moment of weakness. I feel like they were in a point where they didn't know if they had it in them. You know, they didn't know if they were strong enough. At the time, I feel like they weren't ready to see it. You know, they didn't want to fail you. They didn't want to fail themselves. And sometimes when people try to help us, and I feel like that's what you try to do with this person. I feel like they were in a vulnerable state and you tried to help. You know, we have that Queen of Pentacles, that nurturing energy. You tried to help them. But they didn't. They were in a place where they wanted to, if anybody was to help them, they wanted to help themselves. They didn't want you to have to help them. They didn't want to have to depend on you. They felt like it wasn't your problem. They didn't want to look weak in front of you. You know, I feel like this person was very guarded in the past. You know, they weren't willing to accept the help. There was that self-imposed prison. Now, the reason we're talking about this now is because I feel like as time has passed, this person, they had a lot of time to self-reflect. And I feel like this person has come a long way. I feel like that was a weak moment, and I feel like they've come a long way from that. I feel like there's a lot of big changes with this person. I feel like they weren't ready to see it. They didn't see what was going on right in front of them. They didn't see what you saw. And I mean, we can try to help people as much as we want. And Virgos, you're known for that. They didn't want to be your project. They didn't want to be weak in front of you. They didn't want to be someone that you had to help. They weren't ready to accept any help. They were at that point in life when they felt like they were in a hole and they had to dig themselves out of it. They didn't want that. They didn't want you jumping in the hole with them and start, trying to help them out. They didn't want that. They dug their hole. They felt like they could dig their way out of it. But that's the problem with a lot of connections. People think it's weak to accept help. Life is hard enough as it is. And to do it on your own is even harder. They weren't ready to accept your help. There's a lot of defensive energy around this person, a lot of prideful energy around this person. We had, like I said, there's that eight of swords. We have the 9 of wands, that very defensive energy. But like I said, the reason why we're talking about this now is because this person, I feel like this person is in a better place now. I feel like this person, I do see this person coming back. And the reason why they're coming back to you is because they're drawn back. We have that Gemini, that Lover's card. This is something that they weren't ignoring. They knew what you meant to them all along. They just didn't want to be your burden. They didn't want to burden you with their problems. They didn't want to be... It's very, like I said, a very prideful energy. It's almost like they didn't want to accept your help, because accepting your help was admitting that they needed help. But they've never gotten over this. They've never walked away from this. They put in all the work they can, and they're still not completely where they want to be. But now that they're in a different perspective, now they're in a better place, they're starting to find more balance in their own life. They're starting to see things more clearly, starting to see what it is that you were trying to do for them. That you weren't doing it out of pity, you were doing it out of love. And like I said, we had that prideful energy, but I feel like they're in a better place now, and their energy is in a more positive direction. Feeling more and more confident, understanding this connection a little bit more is what's causing them to come back and want to reconciliate. They want you back. At the end of the day, they want you back. They want to make this work because it's not over for them. They want a future with you. We have the Hierophant and we have the 4 of Wands, building that foundation, a strong union. Sometimes the hardest thing in life to do is admit that you need help, and this person was in a place where they couldn't admit it. You tried to help because that's what you do. You wanted to help them out of love, not out of pity, but they were taking it the wrong way. Sometimes we take things the wrong way. We're all human. We make mistakes. This person knows they made a mistake. And that's why they're coming back to make things right, because they want to be with you. They see you as their person. They're starting, sometimes when we're in a dark place, we take everything that everybody does around us in the wrong context. You could be not doing well financially, and somebody try to give you some money. And somebody will take that money, make it work for them, and then be able to come back to that person and say, here, you help me out, here's this, or I'll pay it forward. And then there's some people that take it as, you think you're better than me, because they're in a negative place. So they're taking things in a negative, a negative perspective. You think you're better than me. You think that I'm a bum and I need your help. I mean, that's just an example, but some people, when they're in a negative place, they think everything around them is in a more, they see everything around them in a negative context. They didn't see why you were trying to help them. They didn't see, they felt like they were a pity case, and you had pity on them, and you were trying to help them for that reason. They didn't see why you were helping them or what your intentions were. They didn't see what you saw in them because they were in a place where they weren't ready to see that. Sometimes we see something in somebody, and that's where that old saying goes. Sometimes you just need to let things, let them go. And if they come back, they're yours. And this is exactly what we have in this situation. You tried to help them. They weren't ready to accept it. And it's not because they didn't want your help. That isn't the only reason. There's also that reason where they didn't feel like they needed to help, or they felt like, you were doing it out of a different place than what they were seeing it as. But like I said, that's all in the past because, we have the Ace of Wands, we have the Hierophant, we have the Four of Wands. We also had Ten of Cups, the Family card. This person wants you, and I feel like they still need help, but they're in a place where they can accept help, and they're accepting it because they know why you're doing it. And I see a lot of happiness. We have the Sun card. This person, sometimes when we're in a deep, dark place in our life, it's really hard to see anything that anybody else is doing around us for anything other than a pity. Out of pity, out of we take everything out of context. It's because we're in a negative energy. When you're in negative energy, everything around you, when you're in a really strong negative energy, it's easier to accept more negative energy than it is to accept positive energy, which is the opposite of what we need to do, but that's what makes us so detrimental to our own energy, is because when we're in a negative place, sometimes it's easier to accept negative energy rather than the positive energy that other people are trying to portray onto us. Basically, when you live in a place like this person was living, it was easier to accept. It's almost like if you live in a shitty house, it's easier to live in a shitty house in a shitty neighborhood than it is to live in a shitty house in a nice neighborhood. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. It's because like every time you look at your window, you see all this nice stuff around you, and it just makes your shitty house seem shittier. I hope that comes out the way I meant it. But like I said, this person is coming back because they want you. We got that Lover's card. They have a true connection to you. There's a bond that's unbroken here. They weren't ready in the past, but they're ready now. And that's what matters. The past never matters. It's the present and the future that matters. And not even so much the future. We got to live in the present because we're not guaranteed a future. And our past has already been played. Like I always tell people, the way I look at the past is like books. You have a good book, you go back and have nice memories, you read it again because you enjoyed it. But if you read a book that's shitty, don't go back and read it again. If you read a book and you thought to yourself, this is the worst book I've ever read, this is the worst thing I've ever wasted my time on, don't go back and spend more time on it. Go find another book, a new book that you haven't read. And it may not be a good book, but at least it's something new. Now with this person, we have Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. And sometimes the hardest thing is to accept something. It is hard to accept help from people, especially when you care about that person, because you want to come off in a different way to that person. You don't want to, sometimes it's hard, but in true connections, there should be no secrets. In a true connection, they're going to see you at the worst, they're going to see you at their best. And that's okay in a real connection. That's what makes real connections real connections. You know what I mean? Like, when you're with somebody, like, I remember my grandmother used to always say, I used to kind of laugh because my grandfather, he was a fisherman, and I remember he used to come out, and as soon as he'd come home from work, he'd lose the pants, he'd go take a shower, he'd come out in his old tighty whities that weren't so tight anymore, just loose old dirty old underwear, and I used to laugh. I used to say, that's a catch right there. I used to laugh and say how, you really scored one there. She's like, that's the thing with love. You see the worst and you see the best in someone. And when you can, see the best even at their worst, that's love. It's a long and drawn out story about my grandfather in his underwear, but I always laughed at that. You know what I mean? I always felt like, we're not always going to be made up pretty. We're not always going to be in suit and ties and dresses and have our hair done. And, that's not when it matters. It matters when we're sick and in bed and our nose is running and we're puking and there's someone there to hold our damn hair. Or there's someone, when you're not at your best, that person accepts you because they love you. And that's what the beauty of not having is being completely transparent with each other. Don't hide the bad things because people are eventually going to see it. I'm not saying the first day you should walk around in your underwear. I'm not saying that you should have your first date when you're sick. I'm just saying that don't hide it. Because love, none of that shit matters with love. That's why in marriage and wedding vows and sickness and health and all that other, stuff that they have in those vows, that's the important part. You see that person when they're at their complete most unattractive moments, or when they're completely pissed off about something. You see them in their angry moments. But it's all that. It's not just their happy moments or their angry moments or their, not so pretty moments or their prettiest moments. It's somewhere in between. I've rambled on enough. Be good. Take care. Stay safe.